I, 24F, got out of a 7-year toxic relationship, but the aftermath made me question if I am the one to blame for everything. How do I get over these thoughts? I apologize for the lengthy message, but I need to express my thoughts. I am uncertain if this is the right place for the type of feedback I am seeking, but I will share my experience. To provide some background, I am a 24-year-old female who ended a relationship with my 24-year-old male ex 2 years ago. We were together for more than 7 years. Although this situation no longer troubles me, I still struggle to comprehend everything that transpired, and I am looking for some clarity. He was my high school sweetheart, and I spent my formative years with him. He was my first serious boyfriend. He was the first person to endure all the conflicts and difficult times, which led me to believe that we would eventually marry. Because of this belief, I overlooked many toxic behaviors he exhibited during the early years of our relationship. He was excessively controlling. He would not allow me to communicate or socialize with male friends, and even insisted that I delete my Instagram account and create a new one, limiting my connections to only female friends. He instructed me to dress modestly and demanded updates on everything I was doing. If I was eating, he wanted to know. If I was doing homework, he wanted to be informed. If I was with friends, I had to provide him with updates every 5 minutes. He had access to all my social media accounts to monitor my conversations and ensure I wasn't communicating with any males. This behavior drained me, and we argued at least once a week for 2 consecutive years. What makes me feel angry, sad, and perplexed to this day is that I learned he boasted to his friends about cheating on me with another girl. He told them he had a side girlfriend, that they kissed, and described how enjoyable it was. I discovered this inadvertently while scrolling through his conversations with a friend I didn't recognize. Numerous messages revealed him boasting about his infidelity. When I confronted him about it, he denied it and claimed he didn't know why he had said those things. He pleaded for my forgiveness and assured me he would change. His apology appeared so sincere that I accepted it, so I forgave him. To my surprise, I later discovered he had hidden another conversation with a girl he previously had a crush on. She urged him to cheat on me because she now had feelings for him. He told me he had rejected her and blocked her, but looking back, who knows if that was true? Another troubling memory I have is how he manipulated me into engaging in activities I was uncomfortable with. We were both too young to be involved in those things, and I was not prepared for it. However, he was already well acquainted with these experiences. It began with him requesting photos and escalated to more physical interactions. Each time I refused, he would become upset, claiming I didn't love him. He would guilt-trip me, asserting that he could not control his feelings and that we should find a way to make up for it. Believing I needed to prove my love, I eventually succumbed. We never had intercourse until we turned 18, but considering his familiarity with these matters, he never opted to use protection. The first encounter was unprotected, and I was terrified. I felt like I was risking my entire future if I ended up pregnant. Over the 7 years we were together, we only had sex 3 times due to my persistent anxiety. He never provided reassurance or even considered purchasing protection. At least he didn't pressure me after realizing how paranoid and stressed I was. However, his obsession with sex would later become significant. At some point, I grew tired of being controlled. It felt severely unjust that he could be unfaithful while getting upset with me for merely conversing casually with other men. I snapped and threatened to leave if he did not respect my privacy and my right to live freely. In retrospect, I believe that was the first time he understood that I might actually leave him. That was when he began to change. He allowed me to have my own space, and I felt happier. However, our relationship became stagnant from that point on. We still disagreed over minor issues, but I thought that was typical. Then, we entered a long-distance phase as we attended different universities in different countries, approximately a 2-hour flight apart. Initially, it seemed manageable, but he began to struggle with giving me attention. I rationalized this as a common challenge in long-distance relationships. We became preoccupied with our separate lives, and our connection became dull, as if, oh yes, I have a partner. But the romance was nearly non-existent. I spent 4 years studying abroad, and he never visited me even once. I assumed financial constraints played a role, and I didn't visit him either for the same reason. Our parents had also disapproved of our relationship for religious reasons, complicating visits further. Despite this, we continued sharing photos and videos and participated in video calls. This became the pivotal moment when I began to lose all my feelings for him. I cannot recall how we arrived at this topic, but he confessed to me that he had a kink involving the idea of me being with other men. I won't specify the term because it still makes me uncomfortable. At first, I thought I should try to embrace this since I believed I would be with him forever. I attempted to indulge him, but the more I did, the more it shattered me. I felt utterly unloved. This man wished to share me with others. It seemed as if he didn't love me, he merely wanted to fulfill his own fantasies. After a month of trying, I informed him that I could no longer continue. He promised to stop, and initially he did for a month. However, like his other toxic behaviors, he would apologize and then revert to his previous ways. The third time he brought it up, I was too mentally drained to argue. I ceased confronting him. Unbeknownst to me, I stopped experiencing romantic feelings for him. I endured it for 2 years, trying not to break down every time he imposed his fantasies on me, urging me to flirt with men I had just met. He even masked our relationship as an open one to conceal his kink from others. I was too exhausted to resist. Then, I met my current boyfriend, a 24-year-old man who was a mutual friend I had known for some time. We began spending time together, and there was an undeniable chemistry, a feeling I had never experienced before. I informed him that I was in an open relationship, and from there, things progressed. My ex encouraged me to grow closer to him for his own fantasy. At that time, I didn't anticipate leaving him, but then I had a heartfelt conversation with my current boyfriend about this relationship. He expressed, "I want you to be mine, and it feels selfish and wrong to want someone else's girlfriend." It was the first time in years that someone desired me for who I was, not for their fantasies. That conversation was eye-opening for me. The following day, I found the strength to end things with my ex. He broke down, apologized, and told me that I should go if I would be happier without him. We exchanged goodbyes, but agreed to remain friends. Shortly after, I began dating my current boyfriend, which in hindsight may have been too quick. This led to complications. Many times, I prioritized my ex's feelings over my boyfriend's. I felt the need to comfort him and ensure he was okay, even while I was with my boyfriend. I felt guilty for being the one to cause him emotional turmoil by ending our relationship. The moment I regret the most was when my ex called me, having a breakdown, and I reached my limit, asking him, "Do you want me to break up with my boyfriend and return to you? Is that what would make you feel better?" I later confided in my boyfriend about this, which upset both him and my ex. My ex felt belittled for not being able to cope by himself, while my boyfriend was understandably hurt by my insensitivity. I apologized to both of them, and we ultimately worked things out. My ex's college friend, a 24-year-old female whom I had always been cautious about, offered him comfort after our breakup. She always seemed overly close to my ex, but they maintained distance while we were together. She was a good friend to both of us, so I did not mind initially. After the breakup, they began spending more time together. She learned about my comments regarding my ex and avoided me, disparaging me to our mutual friends and seeking their opinions. I became furious, as that was a personal matter between my ex and me. Who was she to share my situation with others? I confronted her, and she became defensive, accusing me of being childish. We ended all communication after that. She blocked me on every platform, though I continued to stay in contact with my ex at that time. 4 months after the breakup, they grew increasingly closer and eventually started dating. This realization was deeply painful for me. He hadn't lost feelings during those 7 years as I had. How could he move on from a relationship that lasted 7 years so quickly? He claimed he still loved me when we parted ways, yet in just 4 months, he began seeking another partner with whom he wanted to marry. It felt as if I had wasted 7 years of my life on him, 7 years filled with tears and struggles that left me scarred and unable to find happiness at the start of my new relationship. I felt wronged, and it seemed so unfair. Remember how I mentioned he never visited me during my 4 years abroad? He visited his new girlfriend within a month of their relationship. To make matters worse, my ex's new girlfriend lives in the same country as I do. This situation was incredibly tough for me to handle, not out of jealousy, but because I felt so mistreated and frustrated with myself for allowing his poor treatment of me. He even had the audacity to tell me that he wished he had been closer to his new girlfriend while we were together. It's astonishing, and I can't make sense of it. Since he began dating this new girl, he no longer contacts me or shares his feelings, which has been somewhat of a relief. He had been emotionally dependent on me after our breakup, making it difficult for me to concentrate on my relationship with my boyfriend. I couldn't bear to see someone with whom I had shared most of my life in distress. Now that he has a new girlfriend, he can lean on someone else. He still claims he wants to make amends for everything he did to me by being a supportive friend. However, there have been instances when he would provoke trivial arguments with me, showcasing his narcissism and insensitivity. The last disagreement we had was over opinions regarding a video game, which greatly angered me, especially since it unfolded in front of everyone on the server. Engaging in public disputes was humiliating for me. Since that incident, I have avoided him but have not made it obvious to our mutual friends to spare them any awkwardness. This is my issue with him, not theirs. He noticed my change in behavior and texted me at 1 a.m. asking, "Are you uncomfortable with me?" To which I acknowledged, "Yes, I am." He then responded with, "Okay." When I inquired why he suddenly brought it up, he had the nerve to claim, "I've felt so unwelcome by everyone in the server, and I believe it is because of you," implying that my discomfort was affecting his standing with everyone else. He began expressing his feelings regarding his sense of being wronged, never once asking why I felt uncomfortable around him. I simply replied, "I can't change that," to which he said, "It's okay, I've resolved it. Thanks for listening." Apparently, he thought leaving the server would solve the issue. This server was primarily for him and his friends from university, of which I was a part. Naturally, everyone noticed and began to inquire about his departure. Fortunately, our mutual friends respected our boundaries and refrained from probing further. Eventually, many of our mutual friends learned the true circumstances surrounding our breakup, including the reasons behind the open relationship. This has led to yet another source of confusion for me. A significant number of them sided with my ex, labeling me as the antagonist. They claimed I was the one who messed up by engaging with his kink, despite my reluctance. They argued that if I found myself in such a toxic situation, why didn't I just leave? They contend that I was the one who ended up hurting my new boyfriend, hence we shouldn't place blame solely on my ex's toxic behavior. So, apparently, I'm the villain here. It is disheartening and perplexing to realize that some of these friends, whom I believed to be good friends, chose to overlook everything he did to me and instead blamed me for my own suffering instigated by my ex. They act as if nothing occurred while simultaneously avoiding me. This has caused me significant pain, and now I feel predominantly bewildered. How could they tolerate this type of behavior? Why is this the case? Is it because they believe what I did is worse than what he did? So now, I seek your insights. Do I truly deserve this? How do I release the burdensome thought that I allowed myself to be mistreated for an extended period? Am I genuinely in the wrong? How could my friends condone such abhorrent behavior? I want to let go and stop dwelling on this, but I feel too perplexed and troubled to accomplish that. Thank you for your understanding. Story 2. Am I the asshole for being a controlling girlfriend? My boyfriend, who is 23 years old, and I, a 21-year-old female, have been in a relationship for 2 years. We live together and have known each other for approximately 7 to 8 years, as we attended high school together. Both of us tend to be introverted, and none of our closest friends live nearby. In the town where we reside, we don't really have any friends who are less than an hour's drive away. My boyfriend is an avid gamer. It is effectively his sole hobby, and he engages in it every day. I enjoy watching television, reading, occasionally going for walks or swimming in the summer, and spending time with him among other activities. I find it challenging to pursue my hobbies since I work full-time. Sometimes, I genuinely enjoy simply doing nothing and lying on the couch or in bed. Currently, my boyfriend is unemployed or works seasonally. He has been out of work since the end of August, and it is now mid-February. Because of this, I cover most of the expenses. We typically split the rent evenly, but lately, due to his limited funds, we have been dividing it closer to 20/80. Next month, he will be moving about an hour and a half away to our hometown for his seasonal job, where he will be gone for approximately 6 to 7 months. I hope to see him on some weekends, as I can stay with my parents or pick him up to bring him back home. He cannot drive and does not own a vehicle. This was the situation last June as well, but since he had plenty of days off, I was able to see him more frequently. I would work from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., then drive 1.5 hours to pick him up for a day or two, and subsequently do the same to return him home. Last year, he was away for only 2 months. This year, he will be gone for nearly 7 months. While we are apart, he would text me every time he had the chance to invite me to visit him or ask me to come and get him because he missed me deeply. And of course, I would go because I missed him too. It was incredibly challenging for both of us to be apart, and I often reflected on how trivial it was to argue over small matters when we were lucky to see each other every day. I suffer from severe anxiety, but fortunately, he is very supportive and understanding of it most of the time, around 95%. This leads me to my current dilemma. Today, after returning home from work, I walked into our apartment to find my boyfriend on his computer talking to someone, which isn't unusual. However, as I prepared to take a bath, he still remained online. Given our previous arguments, especially since he is leaving soon, he usually logs off his computer when I return so that we can spend the rest of the evening together. I did not think much of it initially and assumed he would log off once I finished getting cleaned up. He came into the bathroom and informed me that he would likely be playing for a couple more hours, which immediately irritated me. To provide context, while I am at work, he spends at least 5 hours, if not more, playing games or watching videos on his computer. When he told me this shortly after 6 p.m., I asked, "A couple of hours," since that time frame coincides with when I typically go to bed. I requested that he be finished by 8 p.m. so that we could actually enjoy some quality time together, but he replied that he would log off sometime after 8. He had previously mentioned wanting to spend time with me. At that point, I felt frustrated because almost 9 p.m. is not a reasonable compromise, especially since I generally go to bed around 11 p.m. to wake up early for work. I felt even more annoyed, knowing that once he logged off around 9 p.m., he would probably spend the rest of the night on his phone, and we would exchange only a few words here and there. In my opinion, that does not constitute genuine time spent together. Frustrated, I questioned him on why he had not balanced his gaming during the day while I was at work, prioritizing our limited time together before he left for months. We exchanged heated arguments, and I reiterated similar points. I was expecting him to be eager to spend the brief moments we have together once I returned from work, rather than being consumed by his computer, which occupies him for more hours daily than I do. He is soon leaving for months, and we both struggled with the separation last time, which was just a third of the duration of this upcoming absence. As I repeated myself and noticed his lack of understanding, he claimed I had no reason to be upset. I became increasingly infuriated. I began raising my voice, attempting to articulate my feelings in various ways, and then he accused me of never allowing him to do anything except be with me. I explained that he was portraying me as some sort of controlling girlfriend, which I am not. For additional context, we do visit friends and family on weekends, and he has often spent the night at other places without me over the past few months. The main problem is that he cannot drive, and none of our friends live in close proximity. After our argument became repetitive, he stated he was finished discussing the matter, put on his headset, and immediately began laughing and chatting with a friend. I walked away still fuming, feeling completely misunderstood. He expressed that he felt isolated, which I completely get. I see the benefit of going to work and interacting with my coworkers, and when I return home, I usually prefer to spend my time with him. However, he is alone at home every day without the means to go anywhere unless it is on foot or someone picks him up. We see each other daily, yet he says we spend too much time together. Financially, we are strapped, so we cannot really afford to go out much, causing our days to feel repetitive. We have developed a detrimental habit of merely coexisting, doing our individual activities in the same room. While I know this is somewhat normal, it often reaches a point where we feel like roommates, and other dimensions of our relationship begin to falter. Thus, our previously agreed upon goal was to purposefully spend quality time together before his departure, even during shared activities like watching a movie, where he tends to game on his phone simultaneously. We both understood this, and I believe that this issue contributed to my anger today partly because it seems to me that he does not care about wanting to spend valuable time with me before he leaves. I'm aware I will miss him, and he will miss me too, making it likely that he will text me every chance he gets to come visit him. However, at this moment, he spends significantly more time on his computer than with me. Perhaps we have simply grown incompatible in this aspect. I feel I am asking for the bare minimum while he perceives my requests as excessive. I am unsure if my feelings are justified or if I am holding on to resentment because I believe I invest more in our relationship than he does. Am I in the wrong for being controlling with my boyfriend?